Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lori Johnson. For those of you that I don't know, I see some familiar faces on here, so that's always a wonderful way to begin. I am the current board president for the Waterloo Community Foundation, so welcome to Windows on Waterloo. Feel lucky to be able to moderate this awesome group that I've heard so much about. My own work schedule typically prevents me from attending very many of these. So I'm happy to be able to be here today. And thank you to all of you for giving of your time for meaningful conversations, but most importantly, to learn about new and exciting and also ongoing
controversy with the groundhogs, right? I mean, one doesn't agree with the other.
Oh, whatever that was. Anyway, today we are very lucky to have two extraordinary community members, volunteers, just exceptional people who are doing great things that we want you to meet. And if maybe you've already met them, you'll get to see them and hear from them today. So help me welcome Joy Briscoe and Sharina Sallis. They are joining us today to talk about the 1619 Freedom School, which I'm sure many of you have heard about. In 24/7 BLAC. So with different approaches, both of these organizations are offering very unique programs to encourage, empower, and advance BLAC leadership in our community. So we are hoping to have time at the end of our at the end of their presentation day for questions and answers. So if you could ask your questions in the chat at any time that you have one, if they're not addressed right away, then we'll definitely try and address those before we wrap things up today. So Joy and Sharina, I'll turn it over to either one of you, depending on who's going first.
All right, thank you so much, Lori. I appreciate it. For those of you who do not know me, I'll briefly introduce myself. My name is Sharina Sallis. I am a longtime resident of Waterloo. This is my second time back home. I say second time because right after high school, I left and I joined the service. And I served in the United States Navy for 6 years. And then I lived out west for essentially some more years after that. And I'm gonna stop giving years because I don't want anybody to quickly try to calculate my age. But then I moved back home. And when I came back home, at that time, Mayor Hart was on the city council. He represented the 4th Ward District. And so I came back with all these bright ideas from things that I had seen in previous communities that I had lived in. And I was saying, why don't we have this? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And in true Mayor Hart fashion, he said, why don't you get involved? Why don't you do that? And so that kind of sparked this journey for me to return back to my home community and get involved and take place. And I think over our presentation over the next 20, 30 minutes, you'll hear why this is truly some of the things that I love being involved in. And I'll turn it over to Joy next. Full transparency, we are related. She is my cousin, best friend, all of that. We're frickin' frack, oil and water. Usually you see her, you see me as well. And yeah, I'll let you introduce herself to you all as also.
Great. So I am Joy Briscoe. Most people, Joy Sallis Briscoe. So Sharina, as another Sallis, she always says, you got to give homage to your true name. I'm the talent acquisition and outreach specialist with Waterloo Schools and the Waterloo Career Center. And same thing, it's so funny that we're cousins because she went into the Navy, which I forgive her for that. And I went to the Air Force. And so basically same thing. I did 16 years in the military, never thought, medically retired, never thought that I would end up moving back to my home community. But boy, I'm glad that I had the opportunity to do that. And sometimes you have these moments where you make decisions that you don't even know where they're leading to you, but have really been able to find purpose and value in supporting equity in our community. And much like Sharina, taking things that I had saw other places and bringing them back to our community, which I'll say, in some ways, it's been an easier journey because we're a much more connected community. And so, when I was in Texas and I lived in a big city, there was, I couldn't get into the mayor's office. But here, when we wanted to grow the Economic Inclusion Summit, I went and talked to him about it first. Sharina got me on the calendar. I went down there and I said, hey, I think we need to advance this where it's more inclusive. And we have all these different areas of public-private partnership. And he was true to his fashion, like, do it. Like, you're talking to me about it. You guys need to go do it. And so been very, very excited for that. Been very honored to be currently working at the schools. And a lot of this work, particularly with 24/7 BLAC, you know, it's been with the blessing of my manager, Kingsley Botchway, because again, we saw value in building a community where everybody can thrive and how important that is for supporting the success of our students. So very, very excited to be here this morning as a veteran, as a community member, as a parent with children that have graduated from the Waterloo schools and are currently in the schools in the Cedar Valley, talking about ways we can advance equity. So with that being said, Sharina is actually gonna kick us off today. And Sharina, I'll go ahead and go to the next slide and you just let me know.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. Joy is going to navigate for me. So a lot of you probably are interested in the 1619 Freedom School, and I want to stress that it's the Freedom School and not the 1619 Project. And the reason why we make that distinction is because the 1619 Project is a literary art that was created by Nicole Hannah-Jones, and the only connection to these two is the 1619, is the historical date. That is it. And so I want to make that distinction because there's always some controversy out there about we're teaching the 1619 Project and it's the 1619 Freedom School. So really what the school is about, it's an after-school program that's dedicated to delivering intensive literacy instruction. It's culturally responsive to our youth, and it will help bridge the achievement gap. The reason why we know that this is important is because if you look at the data that has been provided, we know historically that Black students are usually 2 reading grades behind. And that's fact. That's something that has been put out. And so this school was designed specifically to close that achievement gap. And so to lead this effort, we've put together a leadership team that we spent over the COVID pandemic meeting every Sunday for an hour, sometimes 2 hours on those Sundays, putting it together. And you can kind of see a little picture up here in the upper, it's my left, probably, maybe your right, but all of the individuals that are involved. That's Joy Briscoe, who she introduced herself today, myself, Sharina Stokes, who's a 3rd grade teacher at the Dr. Walter Cunningham School of Excellence. She's also a literary specialist. She has an extra designation. Nicole Hannah-Jones, famously for her red hair, most people can identify her there. And then Lori Dale. Lori works as a talent search advisor for the University of Northern Iowa, the Center for Urban Education. So this is who has spent time and effort in putting this together and getting it off the ground. Next slide. All right. So we'll talk about why the statement of need happened. And so I alluded to a little bit of that. For a lot of you, 2018 was that worst year for us where we came out on the 24/7 Wall Street report, where Waterloo, Cedar Falls was listed as the number one worst place to live for Black people. No one wanted to be on that list. I think a lot of you have heard about it, talked about it, and we remain, even in 2022, we remain in the top 5 places of being the worst list. So this is exactly why the school started. It started as a place of need. It started as also because Nicole Hannah-Jones, who's also from Waterloo, Iowa, was talking to her best friend, who was Sharina Stokes, and was really talking about how can she give back. She had saw some phenomenal success herself along her career and professional journey, and she wanted to give back to her hometown. And so we really started brainstorming and started talking about how can we help our babies, how can we help our community, and since now you have the birth of the 1619. And so it was easy for us to identify the root cause. We just used the data that information had been put out there publicly through the Department of Education to talk about what those achievement gaps were. And we noticed that astounding achievement gaps was in literacy, with reading and comprehension. We also saw it in math, and we also saw it in science. And we said if we could tackle the very basic need of why individuals struggle. You can't do math problems if you can't read. You can't do science if you can't read. You can't do anything else if you can't read. So if we could get the basics down to make sure that we are closing that achievement gap, then that would help change all of the disparities and any of the other aspects that we were seeing. So that is actually why we started.
Exactly. Just to piggyback off of that a little bit for Sharina, exactly what she said. We know in education, in the public sector, kindergarten to third grade, you're learning how to read, right? And then between third and fourth grade, you start kind of reading to learn. Well, if you haven't mastered reading yet, it's very difficult, much like what Sharina said. You're still caught up in needing literacy supports, yet oftentimes students weren't getting that. And so it feeds into all the other issues that we see, from behavior issues. Well, I'm not engaged in the classroom if I don't understand what's happening. So we thought we wanted to be hyper focused. I think you'll notice that about the programs we're talking about today. We're extremely intentional in all of these programs on where we're focusing at. We focus on the areas with the greatest need. So just want to piggyback.
No problem. And I also want to share too, as we're going through, navigating through these slides, these are actual pictures of the Freedom School in progress. These are students that are now enrolled in the program and are coming every day, Monday through Friday, after school for an hour and a half to 2 hours of literary instruction. So pay close attention to the pictures because you may see someone familiar in there. I just wanted to make sure that you all know that this is going on now and we're using real-time pictures. All right, next slide, Joy. All right, so the program details. So we're currently in phase 1, which means that we've launched. We launched as of January 10th. Ideally, we thought that we were only going to allow for 20 students, but the response and the request and the need to participate was overwhelming, that we could not say no to any of the youth that wanted to participate or the parents that wanted to, hey, sign their children up. So we actually had 37 students. Now, we did not think we were going to have 37 students. We were hoping that we were going to get to the magic number of 20, but when we got 37, there was no way we could say no. So we took all of the children that had signed up. And currently it is 4th and 5th graders. And the reason, again, which Joy alluded to, is K through 3rd grade, you are getting that literary instruction. Even if it's 20 minutes, you're getting it in the Waterloo schools. After that, it is no longer a requirement for the schools to provide that. So that is why we started with 4th grade. So 4th grade and 5th grade. And again, it's that you're reading to learn at that particular point. But we have to make sure that we can go back and pick up some of these skills. So these are some of the actual youth that are participating. The space is designed for comfort, right? We wanted to make sure that it was culturally affirming, that when youth walked into the space, that this wasn't like an after-school instruction program, even though it is an after-school instruction program. We wanted to make sure that they were comfortable. If they wanted to lay on the couch and read it, if they wanted to grab up a chair, if they wanted to use a bean bag, if they wanted to grab a cover, any of those things are available to them so that we can make reading fun and so that they would want to participate, and it could also make them feel like they were at home reading. We want them to learn to love to read and be unapologetic about that and not be scared. So this is a safe space for everyone to be able to do that. And so that's our phase 1. Excellent. So phase 2. Part of phase 2, what we'd like to do for the 1619 Freedom School is make the curriculum open source. And I'll allow Joy to talk a little bit more about that and how the curriculum got developed.
Yeah, so one of the great things about people coming together is you're able to pull together resources, right? And again, that's going to be a continuing theme throughout our talk this morning, is the power of partnerships and working together. And so some of the resources that we had were that we had a connection to the Georgetown Center for Transformation. And so the actual curriculum was developed by Sabrina Wesley Nero, who works out of Georgetown. And she actually customized this curriculum with teachers and the Missouri Center for Black African American Studies to actually create it for our students. So there has been some high level interest in getting people access to this curriculum, and we are planning to do just that. We've started with 4th grade, but as phase 2 right now, we're planning on opening it up very soon when other communities can have a benefit from this open source curriculum as well. So that is a absolutely phenomenal thing. And it's awesome that it's curriculum that was developed here with input from Waterloo teachers, input from community members in this area, but then it's gonna actually go on a national level. So that is a phenomenal feat that our community will be known as, that we actually had the opportunity to tackle this first. So we're really excited about that, about the rollout of additional curriculum. And it's funny because I've had people from all over the country that know of me and Sharina have some connection to it. They actually reach out to us and say, like, you know, can we get the curriculum? Would you guys be interested in bringing it there? Like, we had a couple people offer in other communities that need this type of programming. They actually offered Nicole big money to do with other places. And she decided, no, it's going to be here first in my home community. So we just, if you ever see her, definitely give her a shout out for understanding the need here and deciding that even when people were willing to offer big money to do it other places, she thought it was important that we did it first here in Waterloo. And another thing that we're going to be preparing for in phase 2 is representation, right? So if you can see in the top corner there, that's the students at Drumline that was just here. Well, we took all 37 students, all 37 3rd and 4th graders. I was the chaperone and Sharina was busy that day. But, right. we actually recently had them at the Gallagher Blue Dorm, right? Because what we're trying to do is, as they're going through and reading about people and seeing these images, we also want to connect them to positive images that look like them, both locally in the community, and we have plans to actually take students on some national field trips too. So Nicole is very excited about that. There's going to be some great things coming up for these students soon. And so it's just something that all of us as a community should be proud of. And I know, Sharina, we have some of the data points already are starting to come back in from our work with the students.
Yeah, we do. One of the things, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to grab my phone because I have it on here, but I didn't get a chance to print it out. So apologies for that. But some of the data points that we already have is that 70% of the soft launch kids. So we did a soft launch in the summer leading up to us actually starting. We did that, and we had students increase their literacy skills. And so I'm just excited about those data numbers and that we're gonna have more and more and more of an increase. So we went from, at the beginning of the year, I'll give you one example. One was scored at an 89, and in mid-year, they were at a 143. Now that's a significant jump for that individual. However, we do have multiple stories like that. One started at the beginning of the year, 103, and now they're at 142. One started at 92, and now they're at 95. I'm excited to see that this program is actually working and that students are retaining the information and that they want to learn, and that when you give them an expectation of what they can be, should be, and how they should be, students actually rise to that. And so this warms my heart that we actually have the data points now to say, yep, this is working. We knew that if we had some intentional curriculum and instruction, that our students would surpass any type of goals that we could imagine and set forth and dream for them. And so I'm actually happy that the data will be coming out here shortly within the next couple of weeks, and that'll be made public and people will be able to know exactly how this program is working. All right, next slide.
Oh, go ahead. I think that's the last one for 16-19, but the plan is for us to actually stay with these students. So it's not a one and done. We work with them through their 3rd or 4th grade year, and then it's, go off into the world, little bird, and fly. No, we're actually cultivating experiences for these students above and beyond. And so we're actually still, as we open source the 4th grade curriculum, we are also developing additional curriculum for the next grade level, bringing in more books, connecting with more instructors. So we're really, really excited about that. We've been building a lot of planes as we fly. That's what Sharina and I both like to say, but it's definitely rewarding when you get to look at these little faces and actually see them like reading, have a love for reading, actually excited about some of the images and the things that they say. I mean, we both probably would say this has been an amazing journey with the kids. And we started again about 2 years ago working on this. I think I probably speak for Sharina when I would say never in our dreams did we think at the pace that it went at that we would have the level of support we've had, the level of interest that we had. The students are coming, they're sticking with it. We're almost double our goal numbers. And so we're excited like that. And so we hope that as a community, we see the value in this and we continue to pour into helping these students achieve. So very excited about that.
Thank you so much. And I know most of you may have some questions going into the second half, but we'll present on 24/7 BLAC first. And then if you can reserve your questions for at the end, that will be great. I do see one question in the chat about how do students get there after school. We actually have services provided from Durham School Transportation Services. So just like any other after school program, whether they were going to the Boys and Girls Club, whether they were going to the YW, the school, the Durham School Services transports the children down, which is now being held in the Masonic Temple. I'm not sure if any of you know where that's located, but it's on the corner of Mulberry and, let me see, can I get my streets together? Park. It's on the corner of Mulberry and Park, right across from the Elks Lodge. So that's how students are getting back and forth, and then also getting home. But we also have some eager parents too, because they want to hear about their children's exciting day. They do transport their children. They're coming to get them. They're there early. They're wanting to see what they've learned today and how they're excited about it. I've been at the grocery store a number of times, ran into parents, and parents are like, oh my God, my daughter loves this program, or my son talks about this program. And I never would have thought that would have been the response that I would have got, because especially on a Saturday, I'm just trying to grocery shop. I'm looking crazy. I do not want to be in the grocery store talking about this, but it is necessary. It's what's happening. And I'm just rolling with the punches. And I'm so grateful and thankful that Joy asked me to be a part of this program. And we did it during COVID, and we've all survived, and we're here. And what a wonderful addition now for the Waterloo City Falls community. All right, let's take it away for 24/7, Joy.
Okay, and for this one, I'm going to share our screen for a minute so we can play kind of an intro video, and then Sharina and I'll come back and we'll tag team the next one and tell you a little bit about another labor of love we've had that has been really, again, a public-private partnership in the level of support we've gotten, and that is 24/7 Black Leadership Advancement Consortium. So, all right, I'm going to stop share for one moment. All right, can everyone see my screen? Perfect.
We launched 24/7 Black Leadership because, the 24/7 Wall Street report that said our community was the worst place for Black people in the United States.
No one ever wants to be on the worst place to live list, especially when it's your hometown, right? And so when that 24/7 Wall Street report came out stating that Waterloo, Cedar Falls was the number one spot.
And that ranking came with several different categories, ranging from home ownership, ranging from entrepreneurship, all the way to median income.
And that's just not who we know our community to be. While numbers, you can't lie about numbers, right? Like numbers tell a story, and it's a very important story. But we also know that we're more than what those numbers say. We know that there's talent and there's people here that will do something to see things change.
We just said, we got to do something. We can't keep talking about this. We can't keep meeting with stakeholders and having the conversations because planning takes 2 to 3 years. We just said, we're going to go.
And want everyone to be able to thrive as a whole. And so essentially 24/7 Black Leadership Advancement Consortium, we came together to support each other, to be a network to each other, to see how we can uplift and empower and act at the same time the pandemic hit. So you have this dual calamity of a pandemic striking the United States. At the same time, it sends everybody home, and we're watching these murders for no reason happen on television. And it just literally got to be too much for a lot of us. It literally was like, we have to do something now. We have to do something for change. And we call it the perfect storm. It was really, really, horrible that we had to see these things, but it did enact something, I think, in all of us. And I don't think we were the only ones. I think across the nation and the world as a whole, for many people, it was a time to act. And so out of that, 24/7 Black Leadership Advancement Consortium or 24/7 Black was actually formed.
Since I'm tired of, wanting to just talk about the issue or talk around the issue, how can we actually put funding to use for African Americans and for Black people in general? So that was how the seed was started, the seed was planted, and how the work began. I think from there, it really was, how can we, when we talk about empowerment, when we talk about, giving back, or we talk about, how we can do more, we frequently never talk about what it means to be entrepreneurs. We don't talk enough about what it means for financial empowerment. We always talk about maybe additional subsidies or additional dollars that can be given, but we don't talk about how we can empower the Black community. And this is what that's about. We're talking about giving dollars back to the Black community and not necessarily having strings attached, like you have to do this, that, and the other. This is about how you yourself can have an idea for your business, how you yourself can look at your investment portfolio and expand, how you yourself can do different things for home ownership. And when we're talking about for our people, it means something different.
The 24/7 Black Leadership was an opportunity for those within our community to reach back and help develop business, develop entrepreneurship, develop mentorship for those that were aspiring to go into some level of business. Because you think about it, small business, they're the backbones of our communities. Small businesses equate for a high percentage of the overall job market. And by having businesses that are located directly in your community, that means those dollars continue to spend over and over and over in your local community.
Well, the purpose primarily is to empower Black people financially and to really start to help, for me personally, on a small scale, to really help my people understand how this whole economic financial literacy piece really works. Too oftentimes it's worked against us because we really don't understand how this whole economic piece, how it all ties, everything ties together.
To see, number one, so many entrepreneurs respond and say, you know what, we could use something like this, we could benefit from a program like this. They wanted to be a part, they wanted to participate, they wanted the knowledge, they had great businesses already, This was just like the extra on top, like if you was getting an ice cream sundae and we were the cherry on top. That was just it.
Alrighty, and I'm gonna stop share to come back to the actual presentation, but I think Sharina said it. Rena, you're awesome with words, and I think that was an absolutely great point. That this was actually the cherry on top. So again, I'm Joy Briscoe. I'm the executive director of the 24/7 Black Leadership Advancement Consortium. Sharina Sallis is the president, and she was pointing out to us this morning when we were preparing that these both were projects and initiatives that started during the pandemic. And they were both things that kind of came out of crises, but we knew that the community needed them. And so we were just glad to see the outpouring of support and things actually that came from these times that, you know, for a lot of people, they weren't thriving, and a lot of communities weren't receiving the same level of support our community was. And so we're so excited that we were. So I'm going to share my screen again here. Can everyone see that? So much like what, can you see it, Rena? Can you guys see it? Okay, perfect. Okay, so much like to piggyback on what Robert and Kingsley and Sharina and everyone said, the 24/7 Black Leadership Advancement Consortium, we are dedicated to increasing economic vitality for Black communities in the Cedar Valley. The 24/7 Wall Street report, it was a horrible report, but I think it was an eye-opener for many of us. At the time when that first came out, I think I was still at the YWCA or had just transitioned to another role, but had been working for a while in a position that was definitely working towards advancing, eliminating racism. And so to see those numbers in black and white, for those of us who actually that has been our journey, it was an eye-opener. And so I think what the group decided was we were going to be intentional. We were going to take those parameters that were defined in that 24/7 Wall Street report. They talked about home ownership. They talk about the lack of economic prosperity for Blacks. And the other one that they talked about was the unemployment rate. And so we were going to be hyper focused on those areas and see if we were able to make some impact. And again, I think when we opened up here, I started by saying the things that you'll see heavy that'll come out of our presentation is the power of partnerships. And when we work together in collaboration, and also the power of intent. You have to define what it is that you're wanting to address. You have to call it out, you have to name it, and then you work towards that. And I think what we figured out is, while there had been a lot of work prior to that, it maybe wasn't as defined. People weren't as comfortable in saying, we're going to focus on the Black community. Yet these reports kept saying out that said Black children, and sometimes Black and brown children, they weren't reading at the level necessary, or we weren't getting enough home ownership. And so 24/7 was saying, we're going to be unapologetic in focusing on the level of focusing on Black communities, because that's where the greatest need exists. And it's something that seems, natural, right? When I say it like that, it seems like that should be what we should have done from the beginning. But I think this period of time gave us the comfort to be bold in thinking about seeking transformation. So, Rena, I don't know if you have something else you would like to add on that.
Yeah, and as Joy alluded to, this is not done in isolation. This is actually a myriad of partnerships. We would not be the 24/7 Black Leadership Advancement Consortium and have a 501(c) designation had it not been for the leadership of Renew Waterloo. And I want to say that specifically to this group, because I want people to understand Renew Waterloo was transitioning from doing the work that they had already been doing, which was working with businesses, Black businesses in particular, on the north end of Waterloo. And so as they were transitioning and no longer having the steam, they saw what we were doing as far as one of our programs, which is the Black Business Entrepreneurship and Accelerator program that we launched under 24/7 Black, and said, hey, how about if we transition our 501(c)(3) status over to you all, since you guys have the steam and the legs, and then also give you some of our leftover resources. And that's actually how we got started. Eric Johnson was really so kind and so nice of him. This was a passion of his as well, from seeing a presentation that he had been to that talked about the Black Business Entrepreneurship and Accelerator program. He dedicated his legal services to us in kind. I probably shouldn't say that in this format because he may charge some of y'all. I'm sorry if he does, but he did do that in kind to us to help us transition and to get this up and started. And so we're grateful for individuals like Eric Johnson. We're grateful for Grove Cedar Valley. We're grateful for Iowa Core that's being led by Matthew Gilbert. We're grateful for a lot of individuals, not just
You and
our
I,
mayor.
John Papa John Center, have to give you and I John Papa John Center because, again, we did one of the first Black venture schools in Iowa, in the region, and I couldn't find another one in the nation that actually was a venture school dedicated to teaching people how to pitch to receive funding that was centered around Black people and addressing this. So again, a lot of these, again, the power of partnerships and collaboration, we could not have executed at the high level that we've been able to if it wasn't for all of our partners working with us together.
All right. So next slide. So I think we talked a little bit about our why. These just give some of the stats as to what it looked like. We knew that paycheck protection programs, owners was receiving that 645 white owners to maybe 1 or 3 business owners was getting the payment protection program assistance. And we just knew that that was something that we had to help with. Historically, we know that minority businesses, female businesses, they are denied for whatever reason, right? You can come up with your own reasons as to why, or you could actually look at the data and say, yep, they've been denied. And if you disaggregate it a little bit further, there's some things in there that will tell a very unique story. So it only made sense for us to be intentional and to be focused on helping to create generational wealth and financial empowerment for Black folks. Most people are like, why do you say it like that? That feels like it's discriminatory. But again, what Joy said, if you can't name it, if you can't state it in any business, you are not driving towards any goal if you do not name what that goal that you're driving towards. So this is the same focus, and we are unapologetic about it. Next slide.
And we're kind of in the way here, but the next slide talks about our actual programs. And again, we said we are going to focus. There's a lot of issues and there's a lot of need in community, and we appreciate and value all the other nonprofits and public sector entities that work on those. But for us, our focus is economics. We have 2 core values, which is economic empowerment and career development and advancement. And so anything that 24/7 Black takes works on, it has to fall underneath one of those 2 core values, or we've decided that that's not what we're going to work on. And so currently we have 4 programs that we feel fit underneath those 2 core values. And that is our Black Business and Entrepreneurship Accelerator. And again, we've seen on the previous page or slide why we know that to be important. We have a Skill Up Workforce Development Program. And the great thing about that is we're talking to businesses about how can they have more diversity into their actual workforce and not typically entry-level positions. We know that there was a certain measure in that 24/7 Wall Street report that said that, we're not seeing there's more poverty because the average Black household makes under $30,000 a year. So when we're talking to businesses and we're creating these connections, we're not really having conversations unless we're looking at livable wages, because that's where transformation happens. So we do that with our Skill Up Workforce program. We also have a coordinator that works with individuals and teaches them some of the language behind culture and interviewing and resume writing and all of those things. I mean, we call it navigational support when we work with businesses, but we also work with individuals to develop too. We have our economic empowerment series where we meet once a month on Saturdays to talk about investing, to talk about, a little bit of everything, improving your credit, home ownership, right? And then Saturday, we're launching our actual home ownership program. And so we're super excited about that. We've got some great banking partners, Wells Fargo, US Bank, Community Bank and Trust, and Viridian Credit Union that have stepped up and said, we are going to address this. And if there's any other banking partners on here, I know we've had some conversations with some more as well that'll be joining us. We also have some realtors that are also invested in this too. So we're really excited about that. And then also the community development from the city, they'll be joining us as well on Saturday. So we're really excited about that project as well. And Rita, I don't know if you have anything before the next slide for them.
No, go ahead, because I know I'm trying to watch time.
Okay, perfect. We could talk about this a long time because we're super proud of these. Oh, next slide.
Long way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and this just is our Accelerator director, and I'll let you talk a little bit about Rashonda because she is absolutely our secret sauce with the Accelerator.
Right, Rashonda Young, a lot of you may know her from her own private business partnerships in the Cedar Valley. But anyway, we were looking for a facilitator to help teach the curriculum and one that could develop a rapport and easily foster that with some of our Black business entrepreneur Accelerator participants. Because trust is key to everything. And so we wanted to make sure that we had someone that, one, people knew, two, that they could see for themselves that she's built her own business from the ground up. And so they trusted what she had to say and value. And so Rashonda Young, we're just thankful for her. She's awesome. If you guys see her somewhere in the streets, please tell her hi and thank you. But she does this as a labor of love. She gives back every cohort. We are now in our beginning fourth cohort of entrepreneur accelerators. We've already graduated 30 of those individuals. And last night we started a new cohort of 10 individuals. And it's various different kinds of businesses, whether it's been a barbershop, whether it's been a person who wanted to launch their candle business, our own executive director on here. She has a business as well called Ashley Joyce Cosmetics. It's just been a lot to see the diversity in the businesses. And a lot have come to downtown Waterloo, have found homes down there. And so I'm really excited to work with Jessica Rucker, the executive director on Main Street, that has helped placement for some of the brick and mortars that we've had gone up into the areas in downtown. And it does help with revitalizing what our downtown looks like. All right, next slide, Joy.
So this is a slide, and that picture down there of me, I don't like that, but it's relevant to the impact that we have. And Sharina kind of started to talk about some of the things. So last year, we actually had 4 businesses that were selected to go into our local Hy-Vee stores and actually got contracts with Hy-Vee. And so one of the participants, I'll never forget, she shared that like her grandmother had been a long time Hy-Vee customer and that she just wished that she was around to still see when she walks in the store that her products are now on Hy-Vee as well. And so again, when someone says something to you like that to you, I mean, you just can't help but feel good. But even beyond feeling good, again, our accelerator, we've graduated 30 businesses in 18 months. So we've been moving and shaking. And again, a large part is due to all of our partnerships and our collaboration. Out of those 30 businesses, 2 of the individuals have been able to walk away from their full-time jobs, and they're actually now doing this as a full-time. 6 of them now have retail space. So 6 of them, much like what Sharina alluded to, there's been several of them that have went downtown. We've had one go into the Crossroads. There's a couple actually on the west side. So people are going through our training and then they're actually going in and getting brick and mortar businesses. 8 of the business owners have wholesale partnerships. So in addition to these 4, we have other business owners that have wholesale partnerships as well. All of them reported sustaining income during the pandemic, with the majority of them reporting that they actually increased sales. Now, again, in times where a lot of businesses had to close their doors, one of the major reasons why we started this, our businesses all said, not only are we sustaining, we're still making income, but the most of them have improved in what they're going to do. And so that's a powerful statement. Again, a powerful testament to when you focus, you name the issue, you have intent on that, and you have collaboration, you can move the needle. And so Rena, I hope there's something else you'd like to share, because I like the—
No, I think this is great. Now I want to leave some time for questions, but okay. That's a little bit of our impact. You can always learn more, and we'll give you contact information later. which I think is the next slide coming up about this. But I'm just so proud of all of our business owners because this is 16 weeks of programming. And when we first started the very first cohort, like I said, we were building as we fly. It was 6 months. And so that was intense to meet every Tuesday, sometimes on a Wednesday and a Thursday, every week, and they stuck it out. The only time we lost anyone, one person moved to Texas and another person, they just weren't ready. And they let us know that very upfront. And they said that they were unable to go through the program for 6 months. But that person is even back and wanting to participate this cohort this time around. So all I can say is I'm so thankful and grateful to one, the businesses that have trusted us to lead them through this process. And again, all the public and private partnerships and collaborations. And hopefully some of you are on this call today that are business owners. We would love some mentors because we know that you tried, tested, stuck it out, learned some things along the way. And those kinds of things can't be taught through a curriculum. So
we'll also add about the Skill Up program too, because I'm gonna publicly give kudos to my cousin Sharina, because one of the benefits of the core group of people that we have together is all of them are either hiring managers or HR people. So when we launched the talent workforce development portion, it was the right people to do it. If you're familiar with Felicia Williams, she is a rock star in our community. She currently works for CUNA Mutual Group with Sharina Sallis. And when they work with people as well, again, that intent and that focus, they get people into roles and going strongly into their careers. So we've currently placed people at Hy-Vee, we place people at BGM, we place people at Hy-Vee, BGM, which one am I missing?
Unity Point,
Hawkeye. Kingsley did a mentorship program and got them into Hawkeye. So again, if there are anybody that is out there and you're looking for ways to connect with diverse talent, Black talent in our area, and you want to talk about like leadership and sponsorship programs, we are the people you should talk to. We've done it, it's proven. Again, Sharina, they do great work. I usually get out of mentoring because I'm doing something else, but I actually love to mentor when it allows to. But Sharina gets on me because she says, "Where'd you go? You weren't at that session." but they do such great work. And again, we've had some people that have had some successes that have given back. If you know Lance Dunn from the city, Lance has done some counseling for us. We just have some people that have amazing careers that are now giving back and guiding the next generation of amazing careers. And so that's awesome as well.
Well, I think this concludes our presentation. Here's our contact information. So if you want to learn anything more about the 1619 Freedom School, you can certainly go to the website. There's an email address and a contact information, and one of the leadership team, usually Sharita, will get back to you about that if you want to see that. Then also if it's 24/7 Black, that you want to talk about, that's okay. 24/7 Black, you can go to our website and take a look at that as well. Joy, myself will make ourselves available, but also either one of ours will definitely, anyone from our leadership team will definitely answer any questions. I'm not sure if we have some questions through the chat. I haven't been keeping a track, but I am trying to leave some questions and comments at the end. If anyone has some, you can certainly put them in the chat, or you can take yourself off mute and ask us, and we'll try to provide an answer for you here today.
Well, I just had a quick comment. I raised my hand though, if that's okay.
That's okay. Go ahead, Rhonda.
Well, I just think, this was an SOS. Waterloo needed an SOS, and you all answered the call, and we saved ourselves. And I think, and what I mean by saving ourselves, SOS, is you two are Waterloo's own. You didn't wait for anybody to respond to that SOS. And I'm so proud of you. And I could see in my community the difference that you all made in a short amount of time. I don't think people understand what all went into this. I don't think people understand the dire circumstances and just how amazing you two have been. So just kudos to you, and thank you all very much for your efforts. This is amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Rhonda. Thank you, Fran. And we even, from our employer standpoint, because I do outreach for the schools too. And Kingsley in the district, somewhere I was recently speaking, I was saying even the fact that our employers were like, no, this is important. And so because it's important, you know, there was times where I was trying to work on the weekends and Kingsley's like, what are you doing? It's okay. You can do some outreach on this during the week, you know, what have you. And so that was necessary though, right? Like that as a community, that there was enough value in that it wasn't even expected that, well, Sharina, they'll say I work a lot. They'll say I like to work, which I do, but I'm not forced to, you know, luxury that if that, you know, so even just that, even when you think about these type of projects and initiatives, seeing change, that even added so much value because initially, before we had funding, you and I, Papa John stepped up and they were giving things. And then Danny with Red Cedar, now with Grove Cedar Valley, that he was actually supporting our facilitator director until we were able to secure funds. I mean, it wouldn't have happened in the way that it did if there wasn't great community support. And Rhonda was a part of the original cohort too, mentoring people when we first got together as 24/7 Black too. And so it's just been, you know, I say sometimes that me and Sharina get to wear the face of these programs, but they would have never been this way if it wasn't things that were really supported heavily by the community as a whole.
Right. I see that there's a question in there. It says, can people interested in donating to your organizations do through your respective websites? And the answer is yes, you can certainly do that. You know, resources, these programs don't exist if we don't have resources, right? We're like any other nonprofit, whether it's the 1619 Freedom School or whether it's 24/7 Black. They're all great in theory. And yes, we had some momentum behind them, but initially resources is it. Resources. But we also don't just want resources. We want your time and we want your talent as well. A lot of you have achieved phenomenal success in your own right. And we know this. And we appreciate all the individuals who have given back so far and want to give back. I see Maria Anderson is on the phone call today. Thank you for being here. She's out east, but a longtime native of Waterloo wanted to give back and help. She has an accounting and booking type of services, which she's going to help our entrepreneurs be able to get some of that back end accounting. Also, too, she has a thriving business. So if anybody else needs that, there's a connection right there for any individuals. And just, I'm looking around seeing some of the phenomenal individuals on this call today. That's certainly one of the things that we need. We need time, talent, and treasure. Whichever one you can do. If you can do all three, that's fine. If you can do just one, that's fine. We will take whichever one that you're willing to give.
Sharina and Joy, it looks like there's another awesome question. What are the biggest needs from the community for the 1619 Freedom School? And maybe you already answered that question in your resources answer.
Yeah, from the community, there's a lot of things too. There's power in words, right? And so I want people to be clear about what things are versus what they aren't. So when you hear someone giving misinformation, such as they are teaching critical race theory or it's the 1619 project, it is not. It is the 1619 Freedom School. It is an after-school literacy program. There's no way that those two things should be mixed up. I would just encourage the community that when you have the correct information, you heard it from us first, right? So you have that information. And when you hear it wrong, correct individual. There's nothing wrong with that. This is how things spread. This is why confusion happens. We want to keep this a long-lasting, sustainable program that individuals can become a part of. We want to see our community thrive. We cannot do this without everyone participating. We cannot. The reason why programs last is because people are participating. And if you take nothing else away today, please take that away. I see there's another question.
So the other question is, where do we send our donation? And then after that, I see that Rose Phillips has their hand up.
I will go ahead and put the addresses in the chat function, but for 1619 Freedom School, if any of you have a pen and paper handy, 1619 Freedom School, it is at 325 East Park Street, suite number 200. That's Waterloo, Iowa 50703. And for 24/7 Black, ours is P.O. Box 2031, Waterloo, Iowa 50704. If you want to send a physical donation, we'll take those as well, but you can also do them on our website also. And then I think, is it Rose?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, certainly can.
Okay, I'll try to be quick. So I'm not, I mean, in the way I'm framing this, I'm not trying to vilify or lionize schools. I think the 1619 Freedom School is a really important way of not only supplementing, but also holding our public schools accountable for what they're not currently providing. But I think Nicole Hannah-Jones 2 or 3 years ago tweeted some research that, I don't know how broad the sample size was in the research, but in some school districts that are predominantly low income with Black and Brown students, kids are actually, so they start out or early on, they develop an achievement gap, but they are making gains throughout the school year in their grades. And so there's, I mean, part of what Hannah-Jones is often talking about is that communities and teachers and schools shortchange these students in these schools because they just don't really believe in them. You know, they don't think they have much capability to learn. But what I think the point she was making when she tweeted this research, if I recall correctly, is that, you know, yeah, kids do, you know, they start out with a gap, but they do have the capability to make gains. And I've been Googling trying to find that research, and I've been coming up short, but I'm just wondering if that's something you're familiar with, kind of the educational gains that kids do make, even in schools that are under-resourced.
I'm not familiar. Well, I don't have the data handy. I think that sounds like something that the Waterloo schools may have, because they do keep that data year after year after year. And Nicole does tweet a lot. I'm not saying she does that.
And Rose, one program we have, I didn't mean to cut you off, Rena, though, we do have, and I know we're not on to talk about this today, but maybe at one point we will. So the Teach Waterloo program that actually helps get more Black and Brown teachers in the school building. We are one of the only districts in the state that has a parent educator program, and it works. We know that when young Black men have just one teacher of color, that I think it doubles, and don't quote me on that, but the numbers are extreme. And I can send you the background information I'll send out after this. So we're excited about that is too another equity equalizer that we have in our community, is that we have the Teach Waterloo program. And of course, as a district, historically, you know, we know that we've got work to do, but the powerful thing is that we do have people in place that are supporting, doing the work. Again, we've gotten 3 teachers just in the last 2 years into the buildings from the Teach Waterloo program. We have 10 to 11 more to go, and we're getting ready to launch another cohort. Thank you to, I see Megan's on here as well. So we're really excited about that. So while, yes, we're making some gains, our district locally, we can say not only are we making some gains, we're prepared to do even more behind that, because we know when students have teachers that look like them, and all students too, right? Like not even just, it benefits the students of color and it benefits the white students to see teachers of diverse backgrounds as well. And so we're really being intentional and focused on that. And there was an article out yesterday that talks about the Teach Waterloo program. So that is something we're doing that is helping reduce that achievement gap as well.
Thank you. So it is the magic hour, and in being respectful of, especially of our 2 special guests' time, we're going to wrap things up. Sharina and Joy, thank you so much for your most importantly, your incredibly hard work that you do beyond your regular careers. So you have multiple careers from my perspective. You're both 2 hardworking people, and then going above and beyond, doing incredible things to our community. So from a Waterloo person to another Waterloo person, thank you. I also want to thank you for your service. I did not know that about the both of you. Sharina, maybe I knew that one time and I'd forgotten, but thank you for your service to our country. If any of you have not visited these 2 organizations' websites, they are extraordinary, super informative, easy to maneuver, and just very professionally done. And I learned a lot in the beginning of both of these programs through those websites. So if you haven't taken a look at those, I encourage all of you to do that. And I have lots of questions for you, but we have no time. So anyway, thank you again for your time today. Thank you everyone that attended, for those of you still on. And I wish everyone a great rest of your day and week. So
Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to be here. Appreciate it.